a very happy 2026 to you all. We are kicking off with something a little bit different. A very special conversation recorded after our Beyond Beliefs retreat. Now, if you're not familiar with the retreat, Beyond Beliefs is an intimate, in-person, transformational leadership experience created for high-performing business owners and leaders, many from recruitment, but not limited to. Now, over 3 days in a secluded Somerset estate, we intentionally moved from strategy to execution and into the deeper work of identity, belief systems, and the internal drivers that shape leadership and their results. So through inner guided work and embodied practices, the retreat was designed to help leaders release what has been quietly holding them back, reconnect with who they are beneath the role, and return to their business with clarity, alignment, and more sustainable way of leading. Now, in this episode, you are about to hear the amazing Andrea Rishmawi shares her journey, the challenges that she faced, the insights that she gained from the retreat, and the shifts she experienced, discovering in her own words that often the answers we're looking for already lie inside of us. Now, this is just a few of the conversations that we're really excited to share with you over the coming weeks and months. So let's dive in. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this beautifully short conversation, but a beautiful conversation from our retreat Beyond Beliefs. So I am Katie Green and I'm sitting here with the amazing Andrea Rishmawi. Is that how I pronounce? Do you know? Yeah. I've suddenly realised I've never even pronounced your surname.
Isn't it so
Rishmawi?
We all meet each other and nobody uses last names anymore. We just use video. That's a Katie. That's an Andrea.
It threw me. So the beautiful Andrea, we're sitting here with Andrea, who has just completed the retreat with us, and these conversations are a way really to share some of the stories and the experiences that come out of our time together. Those moments of insight, transformation and joy that happen when we step away from the busyness of life and our businesses to do some very, very important work on ourselves. So Andrea, thank you so much for being here and being willing to share a little bit about your journey. So to start us off, would you mind telling the listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do? And then we'll move to the retreat.
Yeah. Professionally, I run a small recruiting firm and I have been in recruiting for 12, 15 years, something like that. What I do is a lot. I mean, we probably don't have time for everything, but I bake lots of sourdough. I take line dancing and two-step classes, apparently. I'm an entertainer by nature. So all of the things.
Definitely. You are definitely that in a wonderful, wonderful way. So tell us a little bit about what life and work looked like for you before coming on the retreat.
Yeah. So before coming on the retreat, I launched the agency in 2023. And a part of the reason I launched it was because the madness of COVID, right? We were all doing extraordinarily well. Like business was booming and I was billing $1 million a year. And personally it was doing that. And I like to pretend things are there's not an issue with sustainability because I think that I'm Superwoman and I can do it all. But there was a part of me that recognized like this is a lot of balls that you're juggling right now. So when the market slowed down, instead of freaking out like I normally would, going like, oh my God, we need to bring more business, I was like, oh, what a lovely opportunity to structure something better where I can actually have a little bit of work-life balance. So then the market took a massive downturn and we were like, I would take the busyness over this. What's happening? So as things started heating up again, kind of Q2 2025, the end of Q2, beginning of Q3, I realized that it was getting busy again and things were about to start just being crazy and that I wasn't doing anything differently. And I realized like I'm starting to juggle all the things again. The buck stops with me. Everybody, I feel responsible for everybody and everything and the outcome of everything. So that's what it looked like before the retreat. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, brilliant. Thank you. What drew you to say yes to this retreat? What was it that spoke to you?
Yeah, I think that realizing that I hadn't structured anything differently, I think I did feel a little stuck. I felt like the circumstances changed a lot, and I didn't see a way for me to really do things differently. I was doing the exact same things as I had done before, and I was like, well, at least I'll have the same outcome. At least the outcome was good. But I forget that when you're in that time, and yeah, you're like deals are happening, and but I was working until 9, 10 p.m. every night and starting my day at 7 a.m. It was going to be too much, and I thought if there's a way for me to figure out that balance, then I want it. And
Nice.
that's why I decided to
Beautiful.
go to the retreat.
Good for you, because a lot of people will just continue on that hamster wheel, won't they? Rat race. Um, so tell us, yeah, what did you get from the retreat? What was the most meaningful or memorable part of your retreat?
I will say the part that I tell people about the most, the part people I tell people about the most is about the Death Lodge, which I won't go into great detail, but in a pitch black forest in a different country, wandering in the woods, frightened and unsure of anything. That's the part that sticks out the most in terms of what I storytell. But the part that was the most meaningful actually was the last morning of the retreat, which was after all of the breath work, after the journaling, after the sweat lodge, after spending 3 days with people and getting to know them deeply. It was the morning thinking about what I wanted to take away and hearing everybody else talk about how they wanted to move forward with this newfound sense of self. And that for me was the most meaningful piece.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's an interesting one, isn't it? It's because we can take so much. I mean, a little bit like you and I were just sharing a minute ago. You were sharing with me how you were, doing a full moon ceremony yourself. Is just this ability to actually listen to people and to properly listen, like not be sitting there with the filters running, where you think you're listening, but actually you're not. You're thinking about your next answer. Is actually to really sit and listen to what is coming from the heart of somebody, isn't it? And then what you can take from that.
Yeah, I am in that moment. I caught myself literally doing exactly what you were talking about. And I think that's when I think about like what I took away and what was meaningful, it's the ability to observe that. And I really feel like I'm observing a lot more and can say, "Oh, interesting. Why don't you want to just listen? Why do you have to be so prepared for the next thing that comes out of your mouth?"
Yeah, yeah, indeed. You can tell I'm not prepared for the next thing that comes out of my mouth. Yeah, but yes, indeed, because it's there's something very profound, very deep, actually, about listening to what somebody is saying, and then, as you say, there is that mirror impact, isn't there? When you're listening to somebody, you can then, okay, how is that a mirror of what is going on for me, or putting yourself into that position and then learning from that, but also taking the knowledge, taking the wisdom from what somebody is saying, rather than judging it necessarily or thinking, is that right or wrong? And I think you're right. When you're in an environment like that, where you spend a lot of time together very closely, you can really learn a lot from other people, and and take the lessons, take the wisdom from that, particularly in that type of environment where I think people are speaking more authentically than maybe they are when they're thinking ahead or processing, or maybe they're doing something which is very structured, and so they know what they're going to say.
Yeah. I mean, I do have like a three-ring circus happening in my head all the time. So there's like what you're saying, what I'm thinking about, and then there's like a bear on like a hamster wheel just like running up here. So sometimes it's quieting that's the hardest part, and then you get busy quieting it and realize you haven't listened to the person that's right in front of you. So I would say
Yeah.
I'm doing better at that, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I actually think you're very good at it. I know you're very good at it because I heard you on group calls. What feels different for you then now compared to when you arrived at the retreat?
Yeah, I think, what I thought about is kind of like I think about the impact of leadership. Like I'm a leader at work, but I'm also a leader in my personal life. And the thing that I wasn't expecting, I mean, there's a lot of things that I wasn't expecting. You kind of go in with expectations and think, I'm here for this. And I came out with so many different things that I didn't realize I needed. But it's kind of what I mentioned earlier. Like, I'm learning and I'm taking steps toward not being responsible for everything and everyone, and realizing that my over responsibility was stifling other people. Realizing that if I want to not be attached to everything, and this, by the way, professional, personal, like that statement, that word attachment really means a lot, that I had to be willing to let go of the outcome. And I had to be willing to say, okay, like, I'm going to do the right things and I'm going to live authentically. I'm going to do and work. I'm going to do a great job, but I can't control everybody and everything. And I can't control every situation. And so I think I'm not going to say, oh, I've stopped overanalyzing everything. I stopped planning for the 18 scenarios in my head in a nanosecond that I can make sure that I can handle anything that comes my way. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm taking steps in that direction, and I'm seeing and getting validation that it's a step in the right direction. And that's been really exciting.
Yeah, lovely. And letting go sometimes, isn't it? That's the other thing. That being authentic and letting go for what actually is really right for you.
And trusting other people, like trusting.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah, yeah. Particularly as a business owner and a leader, actually is, you can sort of grapple with that. Well, is that the right thing to do as a leader? Surely I should be taking that responsibility. But actually, for others, as you say, to empower, to grow in that space, you have to allow people for them to step up. You've got to step back, haven't you? And that takes courage, actually, to do that.
I can picture, speaking of circuses, I can picture like literally me with like balls in the air and then like my foot sticking out with a hula hoop. You probably can't see that in the video, but like just, oh, I've got to manage all my stuff, and I need to manage everybody else's stuff, and also I need to make sure that we're delivering for clients, and also I have to make sure these 3 other things happening, and I have bread in the oven. So I think it's that's what feels differently, is like there's a calmness, there's like it's probably going to be fine. And I've always had this mentality of like everything will be fine, but the subtext to that was because I will make sure it's fine. And now it's, you know what, like things are happening for us, and I trust that I've surrounded myself with people who can execute.
Brilliant. So if someone was considering coming on our retreat, whether it's Beyond Beliefs or another one, maybe they're not sure, what would you say to them?
I would say, if you're not sure, certainty does not come from an external factor. Certainty comes from within. So if you're not sure, I would say listen.
Listen inside. Nice. And a word or a phrase that captures your experience. If you could sum it up in one word or phrase, what would you say?
Worth it?
Worth it. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of them. I thought about this. Growth, breathe. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah. But actually, I
worth
like
it.
it.
Is right. And nothing says it more than that. And I will tell you, everybody that I've come home and talked to sees a difference in me. So it's not, again, I didn't really know what to expect. We talk about identity shifting, and what does that mean? There were people in my life that were like, are you going to come back and not like me anymore? Like, what does this mean? You're going to be a new person. And I think what it means is, for me anyway, is I'm a lot more intentional. I'm a lot more intentional about what I allow into my sphere of influence. I'm a lot more intentional about what I'm allowing into my brain. I'm a lot more intentional about spending time with myself instead of constantly distracting myself. And that was not something that I went in expecting. I'm a lot more connected to my body. That was not something I went in expecting. I'm in a place where I feel like I'm hearing messages through my body for the first time in my entire life, instead of my brain deciding what's right for me and then telling my body what to do. And that's a really hard thing to explain if someone hasn't experienced it, but I really hope that resonates with people that hear this, because wow, it's been a world of difference.
I think, like you say, anyone who has that experience with, you know, the monkey mind or the internal chit chat, or feeling like they, you know, again, there's a conflict between the mind and the body, or just the mind taking over, I think would absolutely lean into what you just said then, because that's, you know, that's a big, I would say, challenge, but it's an obstacle that a lot of people experience, and it's actually very hard to overcome. And being able to drop into your body, because that's really where we want to go. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that, and for taking the time to share, because, you know, it is a personal thing when you go on that type of retreat. It's it's quite hard, I think, to explain it sometimes in a way, or in a context that people can understand when you're doing that kind of work. But I think, you know, you've enabled to do that, with what you've just said. So thank you very much. And
One soundbite with you, I think, that is really valuable. What I feel really happy with is that I came away really feeling and knowing that I'm making a shift from prescribing or looking for people to prescribe to me. And that can mean literally medicine, but it can mean advice. It can be, what do I do in my business? What do I do? What diet should I eat? What workout regime should I do? It could be what, you know, I don't have the answers. Do you have the answers? Can you tell me the answers? I want the answers. To, oh, I actually already know. It's just trusting myself and listening. And I use that word listen a lot now. And it's because in integration, I think, was when it's probably the reason I love that the last morning of the retreat. Is I came out of that with my favorite statement, which is the medicine is inside you. And knowing that when I need answers, I can find them without asking anybody, without reading a book, without listening to a podcast, without anybody telling me, because I already know. And it's just about listening.
Lovely, thank you. It's my favourite statement, the medicine is inside of you. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, for coming on, being vulnerable, sharing that experience, and thank you for those of you who are tuning in to this conversation. It's been a gift to have you here, Andrea, so thank you very, very much. And for anyone that this resonates with, if you want to know more about our retreats or when the next retreat is, then drop us a note and we will give you information about that. And for now, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again soon. Take care.